He was talking about quantum mechanics. Someone has a physics degree. Uh-oh. Wait, is it happening right now?
The thing is, though, like, what is important though to know. I want to really understand here. Like, so when you think about many world interpretation, right? If I, as a person, want to go about measuring something in the most accurate way possible, understanding and expecting, like, assuming the many world interpretation is correct, right? How do I come to a certain measurement?
What do you mean by certain measurement?
How is my measurement non-probabilistic is my question. How can I overcome the probabilistic nature of my reality if actually the many world interpretation would be correct?
Well, now you're getting back into physics, right? So what I was saying is we start with physics, but our metaphysics has to follow our physics. That's a question of metaphysics, right? So that's conflating the idea that quantum mechanics as a theory is perfect, like I said, it's perfectly deterministic, right? No one's going to argue that. But in the real world, when we're doing measurements and we're making, we need a probabilistic framework to make sense of experimental results. And that's where the Born rule comes in, right? The Born rule is, well, I would say it's ad hoc. You can derive it fundamentally from other thing. But then you have to realize now we've stepped out of the realm of debating metaphysics, and now we're going back to the physics. Because I'm not going to disagree with you that in a scientific world, right, we have to work in terms of probabilities. That's what matches the data. If you want to match the data, you have to work in terms of probability. Sorry.
So what you're just telling me is that even with the many world interpretation being what I'm talking about, you still need to work with probabilities within our reality. Because
right,
that is,
but I mean,
that is something.
Of the things you espouse at being are metaphysical. They're philosophical. They're not. I mean, I don't think. I
mean, like that is. I don't fully. Like, because this is where I start not fully agreeing. When I say that we are fundamentally probabilistic, is because the reality we experience and the reality we are in is probabilistic. Like, if there is many different universes, or there is, you know, like a closed system on an 11-dimensional scale, that is something that is not that is not part of our reality. It is something that, you know, that we cannot take into our equation, because for us it is fundamentally probabilistic. So you can talk about the many world interpretation and say everything is, in our reality, fundamentally probabilistic. You can say that.
Right. So I agree with you, and I should also just point out that many worlds is not the only.
Yes, I know. There's different ones. There is different ones, but like I'm just saying, like you're saying that I was.
I've already addressed what you just brought up, though, Athene, and I'm not disagreeing with you.
But I'm just saying, like, you were bringing it up as I'm contradicting myself, and
you are.
Okay,
because you move into, you take what no one disagree with in the experimental world, right? That is a fact of matching the data. We work in terms of probabilities and a rigorous mathematical framework. You can then not move into the realm of metaphysics and philosophy and continue to hold that position. Because if you're going to hold certain positions, then they're going to tell you that your idea of probability is flawed. Or,
that's not true, because the framework.
I'm telling you.
Because
we just agreed on that 5 minutes ago.
But the thing is, though, like the framework that's I don't agree with you in that regards, because the framework that I'm talking about is the reality we live in. So if you're starting to use like, oh yeah, like you can't use our understanding of quantum mechanics in order to make, you know, like certain conclusions about saying things are fundamentally probabilistic, then like I'm just saying, like the only reason why I'm using many world interpretation as an interpretation of the world is because this is the one that makes most sense to me. I don't know if it is the many world interpretation or whatever, but I do know that on a fundamental level, our reality, the one we live in, is probabilistic. If you start looking at it from different dimensions or whatever, like it doesn't really fully, you know, apply to my understand. No, it's not. It just doesn't fully apply to our practical understanding of reality, because we are not infinite. If we would be infinite, sure, like then you can say everything is deterministic in that context if we are infinite ourselves. But if we are coming from an open system where, you know, we don't have like access to all these other different universes, then we have to accept this reality that things are probabilistic. That's it. Like, I mean, that's all I'm saying.
So infinity wouldn't save you from any of the options that we.
I know infinity, I'm just using it to simplify it. But if you would have full information of all the universes and you would have everything, then relative to all these different universes, things would not be probabilistic, would be deterministic. But we are living relative to this universe, and in that regards, we are probabilistic. So if you want to.
That's fine. Okay, can I just stop you before? Because I mean, you're kind of just saying things at this point that aren't even
related.
No, it is the essence though. It is the essence though, because you said that was contradicting myself because I was talking about probabilities and many world interpretation. You say they contradict each other, and I'm giving you a strong argument why they don't. Because many world interpretation can be perfectly, even as a deterministic overview, still applied to the probabilistic nature of our universe. That's all. Like, so you can't say it's a contradiction.
That's fine if you want to work and
okay.
If you want to be an empiricist and work entirely within the confines of experimental evidence, that's fine. You can join my camp, come over to the side of the fence, but then you have to stop diving into the realm of metaphysics and claiming things like an objective reality exists.
No, I'm saying like coagulation.
Is that not one of the cores of your entire movement? Is that there's an objective reality?
Coagulation, what I say is objective reality, the way I define it, is in a practical sense. I define objective reality as a reality that applies to people independently of their emotions, feelings, and beliefs. It's a practical term. I'm not talking about objective reality in a sense that is completely disconnected from
we gotta
any
link
observer.
the one thing in chat.
I'm talking
We gotta
about
link the one
objective
thing in
reality
chat.
in a practical context. It's about how I define the word. And if you look at the way I define the word, it doesn't contradict at all.
Where's the Athene Hearthstone card?
That's okay. Then I'm perfectly fine with that.
Well,
upon that clarification, I'm totally okay with that. I mean, I'm not convinced by your movement.
But I'm just saying, like, you're telling me that I'm contradictory, but you haven't pointed out contradictions yet, because I've explained every single one of them. The only one where you had a point is that you can't square root the Schrödinger equation because I didn't, you know, I was just wrong about that, and that's.
No, Athene, I grant you that point. That if I had a misunderstanding of your definition of the objective reality, I think it's fundamentally misleading to call it the objective.
No,
reality
because let me tell you why I don't agree with that. Because when you use language to the extent that you can actually resonate with people's frame of reference. So if you start talking, for example, about, you know, what you were explaining earlier, you have to find ways to explain it in ways that people understand it. Because being able to come across with your message is more important than using certain words that might be understood within a certain smaller framework of scientists. It's always about, like, when you talk to people that, you know, that are more how do you say it, are more advanced or less advanced, you need to automatically, you know, start figuring out and thinking, how do you actually communicate your message? And I use words like logic or objective reality or whatever in a way that I can communicate the message. That's all.
No.
So, like, I do understand that from a scientific point of view, I'm not using the same terms. I understand that perfectly, but I don't care so much about using the same terms as scientists, because I'm not talking to scientists. I'm talking to people on Twitch chat.
Okay, and again, that's perfectly fine. Please note that in that message that's up on the screen or whatever it is that whoever wrote that, I'm not here to, like, be like, aha, I got you, you fucking retard. Like, I'm not trying to do that. So the combative tone really isn't necessary. I'll just say that. I'm just trying to get you to understand the bounds of what you're able to say given your definitions. You're telling me that I had your definition wrong? That's fine. I perfectly admit that. But like I said, I disagree. I still disagree with you that I think it's misleading to use the term objective reality in that definition of the word.
But the thing is, though, the reason why I use objective reality within the definition of this term is that's what people understand. Because the reason why you disagree with it is because you relate it to
But
your own scientific
don't you say
field.
that scientists agree with you? You say your friend in quantum chromodynamics, PhD in quantum chromodynamics, which I just have to tell you, if you want scientists to take you seriously, don't ever say that. No one gets a PhD in quantum chromodynamics. You get a PhD in physics or astrophysics. He does probably work that involves chromodynamics, right? Unless you're talking about the people in the 1960s and 50s that developed that framework, he didn't get a PhD in quantum chromodynamics.
Oh shit!
BTFO!
BTFO!
Like I know he studies quantum chromo. I know he does quantum chromodynamics. He studied quantum chromodynamics and specialized in it and got his PhD in it.
Okay, you can look at any university in this country or outside the country, internationally, wherever you want to go. I'm in the U.S. No one will offer you a PhD in quantum chromodynamics. You will be offered a PhD in physics or astrophysics.
I'm just saying like
his work or his thesis might heavily involve it, but I think you must understand what chromodynamics is.
But
what is it? Ask him what it is. Oh, drill him.
I'm just saying what he told me. If he says like he's been studying quantum chromodynamics and specialized in it, and based his PhD on it, then yeah, like to me it's just like, I mean, you got to understand when I say PhD in quantum chromodynamics.
I don't
he
actually mean
studied quantum chromodynamics, and he's a PhD that works at CERN right now. Well, if this is the case, then I will make sure next time to make sure to say it like this, rather than saying PhD in quantum chromodynamics. I would say he studied quantum chromodynamics, he specialized in theoretical physics, and got a PhD. No, I'm just saying like I don't like when you say these
things. You
things.
understand the main thrust of what I was saying there? Is
well, I'm just saying like
I'm not trying to use the scientific terms. I have a set of ideals and definitions. Well, then stop citing scientists because body of science doesn't support your work.
Wait,
that guy might.
I want to say something, by the way.
Science has nothing to say about the definitions that you are.
Like,
I won't say arbitrarily. I'll be more charitable than
I want to say two things. I want to say two things. First of all, if you mention these things about PhD in quantum chromodynamics, I take note, and I won't say PhD in quantum chromodynamics, because for me it's just a linguistic thing. It's just making sure, okay, linguistically I'll sort that out, because but PhD in quantum I'll just say quantum chromodynamics, and he has his PhD and works at CERN. So I take note, and I'll make sure that I won't mention that anymore.
There's no point to say quantum chromodynamics at all.
But
No one's going to know what you're talking about. It doesn't make your argument stronger. He could have a PhD in astrophysics. He could have a PhD in Brownian motion, right? Like if you want to say PhD in these things. The fact that he probably has more experience in high energy particle physics, period. To pick some really minute, specific branch of quantum field theory and use it because it's a fancy sounding word to gain support from people that don't know any better, just don't say quantum chromodynamics, because no one even knows what it is, and it doesn't make him more qualified to talk on the foundations of quantum mechanics. If you want to talk about the foundations of quantum mechanics, go to departments where they have people working on those questions. Talk about the people that are publishing in those fields.
Can you say PhD in quantum mechanics?
No, because quantum mechanics is such a small branch of what any physicist does. It is a small, I wouldn't say small, but it is a piece of what any physicist does. Right?
But the thing is, like,
it's a course you take. You take, generally 2 courses in undergraduate, hopefully 2 courses in graduate, and then your friend, in this case, will go on to take much more that involves advanced quantum theory. So you move from just quantum mechanics to quantum field theory, which is what the best science in the world is, right? In the history of science, that's our best tested theory.
Well,
quantum chromodynamics is a small subset of quantum field theory. And
so basically,
no one's going to know what you're saying when you
say
that word.
But I'm just saying, like, if he
serious and fancy, it doesn't help your argument, and it just makes you kind of sound like you're name dropping in terms of.
Oh!
Well, I'm just saying, like,
Which he does.
He told me that he was specialized.
I bet he didn't even say it. Bring the friend on. Bring the friend on.
Bring the friend on. Exactly is.
Bring the friend on. I bet he never even said that. I bet Athene is misquoting him.
But I mean, like, I can say what he exactly did his doctorate in and what his title is.
That's
Because
fine. His PhD thesis very well may be focusing on quantum chromodynamics. That would
Well-
be a very, very broad PhD thesis. So I would imagine if he's working at CERN, it would probably have something to do like quark-gluon plasma. But, I mean, for someone to write a PhD on quantum chromodynamics, I think they would have had to have been alive in the 1960s when people were developing that field.
well, I'm just saying, like, when it comes down to all these things, I don't have so much
Knowledge? Knowledge?
I don't have credentials to say.
He has no
To be able
credentials.
to argue with you in that regards. I can just say, like, this is the information I got, and he might have simplified it, but I can check with him to make sure that it is more accurate. But it is like he's a PhD that specialized. Well, that's
Even
what
though
he said,
Athene has said
specialized
that
in quantum-
I'm an expert in evolutionary biology, I'm an expert in physics, I'm an expert in QM. Now he says he doesn't have the credentials?
Perfectly willing to accept it. You have a friend that works at CERN. It's a great place to be. I wish I had a job there. That would be nice. But no, I'm not. I'm not questioning his credentials. The point is, don't name drop that specific term as if it gives your argument more
But that is
credibility. It doesn't.
but that is the thing, though. That is what I appreciate when you say these things. I go like, that's actually really nice. That's good to know, because I didn't know that. You're the first one to tell me that. Because even when he's here and I say it in the stream, PhD quantum chromodynamics, he never corrected me. He never said anything. So like I thought it was just fine. Hello.
Right, it's because he may not have a specific problem with that, but I'm just telling you that I think that you should stop doing it because there's no point to it. No one knows what the word quantum chromodynamics means. It's not specific to meaning that you know everything about quantum mechanics or that you have an expertise in the foundations of quantum mechanics, which people actually do.
Well,
People
actually,
doing PhDs
though,
doing this work.
when I had a talk to him, he said he was a theoretical physicist. There's not that many in Belgium that do their PhD in theoretical physicists, and he said there's a lot of practical physicists as well, and his understanding in theory is much more advanced than practical physicists. And that's why he's working at CERN. So like when it comes down to like questions where I say like, is our reality fundamentally probabilistic? He says like, yeah, it is fundamentally probabilistic. Like, what can I say? Like,
That's his opinion that he would have to justify, and guess what? It's going to end up in a discussion about metaphysics, and he might not like that. Some physicists don't, right? But some of them are members
But
of
like,
the
if
finance school.
you're
They say, shut up
talking,
and calculate.
like, but the
If
thing
you
is,
want to start talking about serious questions, things that you're going to devote your life to and have serious
But, like,
objective
doesn't-
positions
doesn't-
on,
Let him
doesn't
finish,
you
you
better
fuck.
take those
doesn't
avenues seriously.
the uncertainty principle really shows that within our
The uncertainty
universe,
principle has absolutely
Nothing to do with this?
nothing to do with determinism. It has to do with the fact that there are conjugate variables like position and momentum.
Wow, it's almost like reading
You
one
just show
article off of
because they're
Wikipedia doesn't make you an expert in any fucking scientific field.
arbitrary
Whoa!
precisions at the same time.
Yes.
Like that has literally nothing to do with determinism and has nothing to do with probabilities at all. It has to do with the fact that they are canonically conjugate variables. That's it. Period.
but like if you want to predict a certain position or a momentum of a particle, it is impossible for you to do so.
That's what? I hope
Like-
that you didn't just say that. You could predict the momentum and the position of particles, or else we wouldn't have.
I mean, you can't say the more sure you are about the momentum, the less sure you can be about the position.
Correct.
And the
Which is
more
what I
sure
just
you are
said.
about
It
with the
is a
position,
constraint.
the less sure you can be about the momentum. So basically, like if you're certain about the position, you are completely uncertain about the momentum, and vice versa. So like you have this reality where you can just not be sure about these things, and you have to take uncertainty into the equation.
Hey, sorry, I got a phone call. So can you restate what you were saying just
So-
like in the last 10, 15 seconds?
So basically, like what I'm just saying is like, since you cannot be sure about the momentum and the position at the same time, like you need to go about it in an uncertain way. And if you want, like, and basically if you,
No, it has nothing to do with, well, I mean, it does have something to do with measurement, but you're fundamentally confusing the probabilistic nature of basically what comes out of the Born rule and a constraint on the precision of measurement. Those are
Yeah,
two.
but what I'm just saying is like in reality, if you would want to, because when people think about
Yes, I
determinism,
understand. In
when,
reality, and on an experimental scale, that's all the uncertainty. It also has theoretical implications for things like zero-point energy.
but it's not just
if you're talking
it's not just
experimentally, it is
experimental.
simply-
It's not just experimental. It's actually like you just cannot, even if you have the best
Yes, I
devices
agree.
on the
It is
planet, you
inherent
can't.
to the
It's
theory.
inherent. Yes, it's
And that's
inherent.
why I said it also has other theoretical implications, and then I gave one, such as zero-point energy. I understand that. Athene,
But
what I'm telling
I
you.
want to
It
say
has
though,
nothing to do with the
I do
probabilistic
want to
outcome of measurement.
I do
Those
want to
aren't
say though,
related.
like, but that is the thing. Like, I do want to say though, when people think determinism, they think that everything is perfectly predictable. That's what they think. So maybe
Well, in
maybe
principle, it would be.
Say what?
Just because practically it's not, in principle it would be. If you had Laplace's demon and you had a wave function at some given time, if
Oh,
no,
shit.
period. If, in any theory of quantum mechanics, if you have a wave function at a certain time, right? This is the
Oh, this is the crux of Athene's whole
At a
argument.
certain time, you know the state of the wave function for all future and past values of t. Period.
Oh,
It is
shit.
necessary. This is like literally day maybe week 2 of an introductory quantum mechanics class. That is necessary.
Oh,
From
shit.
partial differential equations.
End it. Close it down, boys.
But my question
Close
here
it down,
is
boys.
if you're
No, I don't want to debate
looking
that.
at like within your reality, because that's my reference frame. It's actually the practical reality that people live, right? Can you or can you not have the momentum and the position of a particle at the same time? 100%. Can you or can't you? Because that's how people think. They think like,
No,
yeah,
but,
you. But that's
do
the
you
thing,
not
like.
understand what I'm telling you?
But like, it's not
That
about
you're
like.
that
but-
has,
but
listen
it-
to me. I'm telling you a fact. All right, take it from someone who knows more about this than you, as you self-admitted. That has nothing to do with the probabilistic outcome of measurement. Say it with me. The uncertainty principle has nothing to do with the probabilistic outcome of measurement. It is a constraint on the precision of measurement.
Oh, he won't say
It
it.
also, as you said, has theoretical implications, things like zero-point energy.
Yeah, but what I'm just trying to say to you is if you explain this to a normal person, right, that you cannot impossible know the momentum and the position of something, that it's just physically impossible, that the way they understand reality and they think things are deterministic within their reality collapses, because the way they understand determinism is much different than the scientific community. Like, people think emotionally.
What are you arguing here? That the layman's approach is somehow relevant when you're talking about fundamental principles that you want to base your life on?
What I'm saying is, when it comes down to the extent to which you define how to go about life, that the practical reality is what defines it rather than the theoretical one. And that if the practical reality shows that you cannot, for example, measure for certain the momentum and the position, that on itself is a mindfuck for people. That makes them question the way they look at the world.
Is unintuitive. That
But-
doesn't
but I'm-
change the
but-
fact that it is real and is
but-
our best explanation.
Yes, but that is exactly why, you know, when I talk about the uncertainty principle, or when I talk about the probabilistic nature of reality, that things pop in and out of existence all the time, that, you know, that this on itself is really something that that makes people not look at the world and think, oh, this is real. Like, and that's the thing. Like, if they start looking at it from a probabilistic perspective, because they know on a fundamental level they just cannot know for sure, then like it really brings about a paradigm that is much more compatible with their lives, and that's all.
Okay, if that's the position that you want to push your ideology on, that's fine. But
But
don't
that is-
say that's
But that's the thing. At the end of the day, when you go about life and when you think about life, it's about how do you practically, you know, translate our understandings into our daily lives. And when you start talking about things from a, you know, from like a very theoretical framework where you take all the universes together and stuff, like
I've let you
people.
speak for quite some time now. Just
Okay.
let me interject and say, there's a difference between saying, I agree, not everyone is going to get a PhD in physics, right? And they're not going to be able to understand the subject material in a way that captures all of the nuance that comes from the mathematical formalism. But if you're going to push a position, then that position better be compatible with the best scientific understanding, not the understanding that is, applicable to laymen. It needs to fit the actual science.
Yeah, and
Basically what I'm saying is the validity of your position does not rest on the fact that, well, yeah, it's not exactly correct, but I mean, you can't explain this to a large group of people anyways.
No, it's about like, although I have
pushed the ideology.
no,
I mean,
it's
that's not a good argument.
like it's important to understand that when I say that things are fundamentally probabilistic and behave probabilistic within our reality, the way we experience it, that like it's not just me saying it. It's also like when I talk to to this PhD, to the PhD said it, like he told me that. So if he's the one that is telling me that and say like, yeah, there is like the idea of determinism is actually like within our current reality, is just like like he says he and his colleagues don't believe that. Yeah, what can I do? Like, I mean, like I don't have a PhD myself, so I do think
I thought he said before education doesn't matter because he could just read about it.
I mean, neither do I. I'm on my way.
What I'm just
how many years it's going to take. But
what I'm just explaining here is that if he tells me that it's fundamentally probabilistic, then what am I going to say? Like, oh yeah, that's not true. I mean, like.
No, but you're running around in circles and playing a game here, thinking I've granted you this over and over.
But if
reality, constraint, things are probabilistic. But if you're going to push positions that are intrinsically metaphysical, you are whether you're meaning to or not, you are making claims of metaphysics. Then those
no. That's the thing. I go about things very practical.
Okay.
Okay. What are the things that I say that are not fully practical?
I think that was the first 20 minutes of the debate, and let this look like dodging all you want, but I'm not going to rehab that 20-minute conversation. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to do it. I have better things to do.
About like
then talking to the most intelligent person on earth.
Come to a point where we summarize our final points.
But wait, you're talking about the many world interpretation.
Come on, that wasn't the first initial thrust that I had.
You were talking about the Schrödinger equation.
I'm not rehabbing another 20-minute discussion on this. I did my best.
But just say the core. Just say the core then.
That's what I just suggested. Let's do a quick summary, move on, go to the next caller, because this is getting slightly old.
I think it's interesting. Like, this is one of the conversations where I learned something. So.
But I thought he was the most intelligent person in the world.
If you don't feel like it's productive to talk to the viewers and go to the essence of these things, then that's your right. But I have no issues.
But I mean, careful. We did that for quite some time. It's not like I just came on here and then left after 5 minutes. Right? We've been talking for I don't know how long now, 30, 40 minutes. But okay, go ahead and make whatever summary points you have. I'll make my, or if you want, I can go first. Who cares? But.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, I'd like to debate because, like, even if you say something, I'd like to, give my counter arguments, because you said I was contradicting myself in several equations, and when I explained them, you start getting more insight and like more understanding in how I approach things. And I understand that your point is like you can't make claims that are theoretically on a fundamental level not backed up. But I always look at things from an experimental reality perspective rather than one that is theoretical, because at the end of the day, it's the practical reality that decides our faith. It's not the theoretical one. We can base ourselves.
Who is this guy? How do we get this guy? I want to talk to this guy on stream. I just want to do a post-stream, a post-interview interview. How do we do it?
They're only valuable to the extent that they have practical implications. And that's how I go about everything when I look at science, when I look at anything, because, like it's only valuable to the extent that it has practical implications. So when I talk about, how to go about life and having logic as your core value that allows you to, start thinking much more in line with reality by just behaving, by more understanding, it's all practically calibrated, all of it. And these ideas and these theories are merely a mean for you to be more able and capable to deal with the reality, and that's it. I mean, nothing more, nothing else, nothing less. It's that simple. So I'm not trying to, to come up with a theory that, that explains everything. What I'm trying to do is come with a
Except for your video where you called it Athene's theory of everything.
Everything.
But like even that, I already.
It was a cheap shot all along.
But even there, when I was talking about Athene's theory of everything, to give you a little bit context, when it was about gods and the neurons, it was about the first part. But I knew that if I want to spread it, I have to bring about these freaking metaphysical ideas in order to reach a bigger audience, and it worked. It's one of my biggest videos. Like it's just like I understand the human psychology. If you just go to people and say like, oh, these are how the neurons work and this and that, like so many people don't even care. But if you add to it like, oh, some understanding and some theories and some ideas about the fabric of life or whatever, suddenly more people talk about it. It's a mean to the end, and this is actually something I discussed.
I understand that. That's why I said it was a cheap shot. I understand your.
Well, it did work though, so.
I agree with you. That's why I said it was a cheap shot and laughed.
Okay, but yeah, like what I just want to say is I'm always calibrated towards the practical reality, and I'm the first one to admit that you have a better understanding in quantum mechanics than I do. And if it wasn't for me taking this path in my life, I would be taking that one. I would be
Oh my God.
studying physics and understanding reality even more and contribute to that. But I felt like with the discrepancy between people's awareness and the world we live in, that I'm better focusing on trying to find ways on helping people to be more aligned with reality and be more social beings. And that's what I did.
Now we
And-
just
and
need to
that's
find
why
a
I'm talking and
psychologist,
why I'm
guys.
taking the time, and I appreciate you take your time to talk to me and explain these things and can bring in these views, because I love to learn, like always, and I think this call is a good showcase of that, because I don't get so many people that call that can learn me something, and if you come with understandings of like the Schrödinger equation and the uncertainty principle that I had a simplified understanding of, I'm the first one to actually be happy to learn about that. So yeah, like I'm just saying, like I'm very practical oriented, and that is how I look at the stream, and that's how I speak, and that's how I also define words, and I always look at the practical reality.
Yeah, so I think you learned something from me, and I learned the nuance in your position, the definition of your position. I don't necessarily still agree with it, but I at least now understand your position better, which I think should be the goal of any conversation, not necessarily to convince the other person, but to simply understand that you have a mutual understanding of what you're both saying. And I think that the humility that you just expressed in the last statement that you made, you should take that to heart when you're. I mean, I understand you have a personality and you have to be bombastic and you have to say outrageous things, but kind of try and keep that in the back of your mind.
Well, I can tell you one
Sometimes
thing.
what you're saying isn't necessarily
I can tell you one thing.
fully
and-
scientifically sound.
Like I can tell you one thing. If there is one thing I know, is that I am ignorant, and I can always learn. And no matter what statement, if you show me otherwise, I'm not yelling and saying like this is true. Like I just go like, okay, that's really interesting, and I take note of it. So like that's just how I improve. So next time I won't say PhD in quantum chronodynamics, and I won't say you can square root the Schrödinger equation to get the position, because that's what I thought. Like that's what I thought I read, but obviously it's not true, and I learned that. So that's good. Like.
Well, it was. I think contrary to what some people in the chat are saying, it wasn't the worst conversation. It could have maybe been better, but we're all.
I think it was
people.
good. I think it was actually one of the better ones,
uh,
because I learned something, and I can't say that so often about these calls, to be honest. So I'm
I'll
happy
let
about
you,
that.
get
I
on
would
to
say
the
though,
next-
I would say to really like look into the neuroscience part, because this is
Well,
more.
I mean, okay, so now I've already kind of dropped my degree, and now I'm just gonna sound like I'm literally making this shit up, but I swear to God, I also have undergraduate, so don't take it too seriously. Anyone can get an undergraduate degree nowadays in evolutionary biology as well. So I'm in physics, but I also have an evolutionary biology, and my graduate work is in physics, but I have certain,
Oh no!
I wouldn't say expertise, but I have strong knowledge of evolutionary psychology. So.
Most of what I say when it comes down to evolutionary biology is based on Homo sapiens. A brief introduction of human history or something like that. You know, from Harari, the book. That's what most of my evolutionary biology understandings come from. And a few other guys like that I looked into, but of course, like when it comes down to evolutionary biology, it's a bit more. There's also quite some theory crafting going on, trying to explain certain
interesting stuff, but perhaps a conversation for another time.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
So have a good one, Athene.
Have a good one, man. See ya.
How do I get him on? Did you guys message him? Dude, I always bring on people to stream that I disagree with, so I just want to have like.
That was a good talk.
I just want to have like one time where I get to talk to somebody in circle jerk. I just want to circle jerk like one time. Just one time. What's the guy's fucking thing? Have him DM me his fucking Skype. You have to message him yourself. I don't know how to do it. I don't have Discord. I messaged him on Discord. Just tell him to DM me his fucking his name or whatever. Okay, guys, just let me have my circle jerk, okay? One time. All right. I'm bringing him on TeamSpeak. I'm bringing him on TeamSpeak. Whew, feels good, man. Okay, I'm gonna discuss the portal question with him because I think he's gonna back me up. No, I'm just kidding. Whoa, what's up, dude?
Hey, man.
The man of the hour. I feel like I'm talking to a god. How's it going? No, I'm just kidding.
No, please.
What? Okay, normally, so I have people on my stream all the time where I argue all the time and shit, but now I just want to take a minute to circle jerk. What is your what's your educational background?
So I have 2 bachelor's of science degrees. One of them is in evolutionary biology. The other one is in physics, and I'm currently doing a PhD in physics.
Okay. Something that really bothers me that a lot of people do, the only thing that I can talk about, like with actual like academic confidence, would be something related to music. That's what my degree was going to be, and I studied it a little bit in college, so I can argue that to some extent in depth. But for anything else, I can't. I generally have to rely on what other scientists say. I'm never going to argue like the data of any in-depth scientific field. One thing that's really irritating to me that Athene seems to be the master of is you'll get somebody who reads like one Wikipedia article on a certain topic, and then they think that they're like the master of that thing, even though an academic background allows you to contextualize exactly what it is you're reading about, right? So like it seems like Athene has this thing where he'll read like the many worlds interpretation or whatever, and then he'll extrapolate that to like 50 million different things without actually having like the academic background to contextualize what he's right? Like that's what I feel like everything he talks about. Like he learns basically like he goes from buzzword to buzzword to buzzword.
Science version.
Yeah, without actually having like an underlying background and understanding the implementation of whatever theory and how it actually impacts everything, right? It's just like the bullet points version of it without understanding any of the deeper meaning. I'm really irritated because the last time I talked to him, because I recognize that like I can never attack Athene on like actually arguing the topics themselves. I mean, I know he doesn't know him, and I sure as fuck don't know him. I'm not going to argue about QM with somebody because it would be fucking ridiculous. I don't have a background in physics. But my argument was spent generally attacking his credentials, that it seemed insane to me that he would claim to be so intelligent and that he has he shunned away from it with you, but I don't know how much you followed him, but he says that he is a master of physics, a master of QM, master of evolutionary biology, a master of neuroscience, right? But then like when I challenged him, like, okay, well tell me some of the authors that you've read in this field, he couldn't name a single one.
Yeah, so the reason that I even know about this at all is someone who watches your stream. I mean, I know who you are. I remember the retard magnet days. I haven't really followed, which is top meme quality, dude. But I haven't followed you for a particularly long time. But someone linked me to that debate that you had with Athene, and I ended up watching both of them. And I actually sent you like a super long message on Reddit, like I don't know, a couple weeks ago. But it was like painfully autistically long. So if you never read it, that's totally fine.
Was it the one that you linked in the separate Google Docs or whatever?
Yeah, because I didn't know, like, it was too long for the Reddit message.
Yeah,
So
I read through quite a bit of it. But I didn't want to get into like a super really long Reddit responance.
Yeah,
but you were
like,
making the
that's totally
contention. Were you making some of the Harris-esque contentions that like science can determine some things about philosophy or and whatnot?
At some point, I made, like, that was kind of a cursory thing, but and like that's not so specific that I want. The reason that's just how I know you.
Okay, sure.
But like you were talking about Athene's interpretation on the many worlds interpretation, and the thing that really just like immediately triggered me so hard that I had to like say something about this is when he used the many worlds interpretation to invoke this idea of the quantum immortality idea, which was just so ridiculously wrong and utterly it's non-coherent. It doesn't even make sense as a logical argument, and yeah, I had to say something about that. And then I ended up watching the rest of it, and he started talking about evolutionary biology, and I had a conniption because he started talking about the evolution of the individual and group selection, and I came very close to killing myself, and now we're here.
Gotcha. I feel like it was interesting that by the end of your conversation, he was willing to admit that he didn't have the credentials. But when I challenged him, because I always ask, like, because I asked him several times in a discussion, like, well, what is your academic background? And then his contention was always that, well, I don't need an academic background. I've read, papers or whatever. Or when I asked him about, like, because he wants to call his movement Neuro-Spinozism or whatever. And I was like, okay,
Right.
well, did you read The Ethics by Spinoza? And he's like, well, no, but I watched a slide on it. And it's like, you're naming your entire movement off of a guy that you haven't even studied. How could you do that? Yeah, damn. I feel like he's gonna come out of that conversation like, and I don't know if this bothers you or not. Maybe I'm just too petty or I have too much of an ego. But like, he's going to come out of the conversation that he had with you as two people that, for the most part, agreed on most things, and then you just helped him see some things a little bit clearer. Like that's how he'll spin the conversation. Yeah,
that would not be my summarization of.
I also guarantee you that if you were to take whatever fucking friend, and I actually just had an argument with a guy like a week ago where this happened, if you were to find whatever fucking friend that he has that he was quoting as having a PhD in quantum chronodynamics or whatever
Yeah,
he
we
said.
had a long discussion. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I
about
probably
his
saw like the
friend
last
with quantum
20 minutes.
chromodynamics.
Wait, with his friend or about his friend?
Well, about his friend and the fact
Yeah.
that he mindlessly drops that term as if anyone knows what he's talking about, and
Sure.
that it adds any credence to his arguments.
But I'm willing to bet that if you brought that friend on, he would probably say something like, "Wait a second, what do you mean, Athene? No, I just told you one time that that's like something that I'm interested
I
in.
have
That's
a
not
strong feeling he'd have to walk back all the things that he's.
Yeah, like almost
he hasn't
everything.
accurately represented his positions.
But then, like, anytime you call him out, like, I feel like his like logic system is like infallible, because anytime you call him out on something that is incorrect, he has a reason for it being incorrect. Like if you say like, okay, well, you talk about the objective reality. He's like, oh, hold on. I'm not really talking about objective or reality. I'm just talking about the way that I get people to listen to me, right? Or when you talk about like, well, this thing is wrong. And he's like, well, no. I'm only being wrong there because so other people can understand it. It's like, well, what? So what the fuck? What are you supposed to take at face value? Like what? Like on every single thing you try to back him into a corner, he always has a reason on why he's making that up or why he doesn't mean that or why he was wrong. I don't know if you saw in chat, but somebody in my who has a link to the Hearthstone card that represents Athene?
Oh, cognitive dissonance.
No, it was. Hold on. Oh fuck.
No, it is. Yeah, it's a game. It's a game of redefining terms, and that's fine. Like if you want to work from that premise, you can work from that premise, but that doesn't come without a cost. Then you have to give up other things, right? So you can't make certain statements if you're going to say, oh, well, really by objective I mean this, and really by reality I mean this. You can do that. That's fine, but that doesn't come without a price.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah.
continue to make statements of metaphysical certainty or, base the core of your movement on something that you agree is fundamentally false, but it's just easy to explain to people. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or like trying to pretend like this is the most scientifically accurate statement that has ever been made about the human condition ever. And then when you ask him about each of his statements, he goes, "Well, I just made that up because I thought it sounded good." And it's like, okay, well, what exactly? What is anything that you're talking about then? But yeah. Oh, I linked the picture in chat. That's like the big.
Oh, that's
like
pretty
the
good.
yeah. Like anytime that's like, well, what did you mean by this? He's like, well, no, that's not what I actually meant by that word. Like,
Right.
yeah.
But,
Okay.
and to a certain extent, physicists are to blame for for Athene in a certain respect, because we popularize and we say things that aren't necessarily true, and it's you lose the nuance of the mathematical rigor and the framework of a theory. You know,
Sure.
it's hard to do, but
I guess I
this
feel
is
like
the product you
it
get.
feels to me like if you've never studied something in depth, I think you can trick yourself into thinking that you understand a lot more than you actually do. I guess like for instance, like it seems, and I try not to do this now because I mean I know at least one thing. I know music, and I know that there is depth to some things. But like you read one like article on something, and you think that all of a sudden you understand what you've read and all the possible implications of it, without thinking like, well, why does anybody go to school for 4 years to learn this when I could just learn it off of an article, right? Without learning that there's so much more that goes into it, and it feels like people in general do that. But Athena is like the master of that, of having like cursory
Yeah.
information of a couple topics and then trying to link them all together in an incredibly superficial way, and then like
Well, I hope because towards the end, as you noted, he got a little bit, you know, his humility levels spiked. And that was because, I don't know if you were watching, that was more towards the beginning of the conversation, but he was saying things that were, well, so in science, when you say something that, like, the vocabulary words you're using don't even describe what you're talking about. It's
yeah,
just,
you can
it's just
tell
nonsense.
someone is
What-
clueless.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we call that being not even wrong, and it's pretty much the worst insult you can give someone in science. And there were points where he was just talking about things that were not even wrong. And
Sure.
I don't like to interrupt people, but I had to be like, Athene, stop. You know, what you just said is not even, it's not just wrong and it can be debated and, you know, the evidence is, it's not even logically coherent.
yeah.
He would talk about squaring the Schrodinger equation to get probability outcomes of measurement. And it's just like, what?
Sure, something
But
where like
it
if you've only read an article on both, then maybe you think that you can connect them in, you know, these ways. Like, and again, I don't know how much you know about Athene, but like he literally has claimed that he is the most intelligent person on the planet. On the planet. He's claimed that, you know, he's united.
He believes that, do you?
I don't know. I mean, when you make a video and he's like, he claims that like he's united general relativity and QM and shit, and that he has the answer to everything. Like, I mean, he's started a movement and he's got a fucking mental hospital in Germany that he's moving people. I don't know. Does he believe it? I really think to some extent he does. I think he does. When they're finding YouTube videos of other people in pop science, of the Neil deGrasse Tyson saying things, he's like, well, look, these guys are all agreeing with me and I found the answer to everything. Like, I think he really does to some extent. Right? In order to be as shameless as he is about what he says, you have to, right?
You might be right. I honestly, I don't know. But yeah, that would be consistent analysis. It's possible.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you go back 5 years ago.
Be that delusional and not actually believe what they say, but
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna make a video on YouTube called "The Theory of Everything" and make it a fucking hour-long video, and that video is like the summation of his life's work, which is having a basic amount of understanding of a topic and then trying to completely connect it to something in a totally different field without having a thorough understanding of anything you're talking about. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was something.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, after our conversation, he seemed a little bit humbled too. Not that I knew anything more than him, but just that like my assertion was always that he needs more information if he's going to make these claims. Like, you can't make the claim that you're so intelligent in these fields and have no background in the field. It's an insult to anybody that works the field. And it seemed like he's like, okay, because at the end he even said like, well, okay, I'll try to learn the authors' names, because he was trying to say in the conversation, no, I've read tons of books about these guys. I just didn't remember
that.
the.
Yeah, that was horrifying, right?
Which is impossible, right? Because I imagine once you reach a certain level in any field, the name of the author will be almost as important as the work itself, right? Because it shades everything they write and it gives you a context for who's talking about something, right? But then after that, if you look at a YouTube video where he talks about our conversations, he says he turns me into mashed potatoes. And it's like, well, okay, all right, buddy.
Yeah, I mean that whole thing was a mess.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad you came in and talked to him. Like, I think it's always good when you have people with actual like academic credentials come in to dismiss some of the bullshit that people try to pass. It felt good.
Yeah, I just back to that thing you mentioned about him not being able to name a single author. Like, if someone asked me, you know, to cite anything about the work that is essentially probably going to become my PhD thesis, right? I could, off of the top of my head, name 30 to 40 authors easily.
Sure.
And things that I'm just personally interested in. That's why I had a slight command of the idea of quantum foundations, so these interpretations of quantum mechanics. I can name the authors in those fields. That's not even my work, but damn straight, if I'm going to read about these things and understand them, you're going to see the same people publishing papers over and over. You're going to get to know their names and know the positions that they put forward. So the fact that he couldn't name one author makes me think that he hasn't read a single paper by anyone ever, except like
the Wikipedia articles.
Yeah, or like a news coverage article, you know, a press article about a scientific paper.
Sure. Which in and of itself isn't necessarily bad. It's nice to have even that much information. But when you present yourself as an expert across 3 different scientific disciplines, when you haven't, yeah. Oh yeah, I think you also in that message you also took issue with me in the beginning. The ought verse is science and philosophy or whatever. Was that part of your message to me as well?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even remember what your position was. I just read it back then. But
Yeah, I remember. I did read it. I remember some of it. But
oh, because basically you were saying you can't derive an ought from an is, and I would agree you can't derive an ought from an is, but you certainly can derive moral imperatives from scientific data. I don't think that that's a controversial position, but you might disagree.
Maybe. I promised my stream I wasn't gonna argue today. Fuck. I understand what you're saying. Well, but the problem is that like yeah. Oh fuck. Never mind. Yeah. I mean, I can maybe agree. Yeah, okay. Well, hey, I love you, buddy. Yeah, I promised my stream I wasn't going to get into debates today, okay? But then I got sucked into anything. I just wanted you to know I love you very much, and we appreciate your work on a theme stream. And,
all right, Destiny,
yeah.
Keep up the dank memes.
Yep, good luck with your PhD, if that's what you're working towards or whatever, so.
Oh, God, I'll probably die before the end.
All right, have fun, buddy.
All right, see ya.
Okay. Are you guys excited? Guys, it's only 2:38, and we're starting The Witcher 3, guys. This is like record time for getting into video games.